Mangwana ni Mwadalepo Fukenjani Class Banave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Bedi and Aina Riza Kweyo one day after Father's Day.
Yes,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Did you celebrate
Happy
Father's Day? Happy, not to me?
Yeah, for the future.
Oh, Kwame. Yeah, my dog.
You are a father of many.
Yeah, no, but happy Father's Day
to all
the
the
fathers.
Children through your art. You are inspiring.
Oh, yes.
So happy Father's Day.
I hadn't internalized that. I'll take it in.
All right, in today's broadcast, death toll from militant attack on school in Uganda hits 37. Bank wants Africans buying from each other with their own money, and Russian MPs vote to ban gender reassignment. Follow all our programs on oneup2.com and DSTV 285 as well as GoTV 25 in Namibia. We also have Talen Gore and Ari Hohad on the show. We'll be right back after the break.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
In our top stories this morning, death toll from militant attack on school in Uganda hits 37. Militants linked to Islamic State group hacked and banned 37 students to death in western Uganda in the country's worst such attack over a decade, army and police officials said on Saturday. The army said it was pursuing militants from the Allied Democratic Forces after the cross-border raid late Friday on a secondary school in Pondwe in Kasese district near the Democratic Republic of Congo. Investigators said dormitories were set alight and students cut down with knives in brutal late-night assault by ADF, which is one of the deadliest group active in DR Congo's strife-torn east. Unfortunately, 37 bodies have been discovered and conveyed to Bwera Hospital mortuary. Uganda's People Defense Forces spokesperson Felix Kalyainge said in a statement.
Now, Russia's lower house of parliament, the Duma, voted on Wednesday to ban surgical and legal gender reassignment as Moscow solidifies its conservative turn while troops fight in Ukraine. Russia has for years been a notoriously unfriendly place for anyone who does not comply with the Kremlin's hardline view of family values. Pressure on the LGBTQ+ community has intensified during the Ukraine offensive, often portrayed in Russia as an existential fight against Western liberal values. MPs approved the first reading of a bill that bans medical interventions aimed at changing the sex of a person and the state registration of a change of gender without an operation, the Duma website said.
In our next story, bank wants Africans buying from each other with their own money. A pan-African payment system that would allow African nations to trade among themselves using their own currencies is gaining momentum. The African Export-Import Bank expects 15 to 20 countries to have joined the pan-African payment system and settlement system by the end of the year. Afrimex Bank President Bernardicto Orama said in an interview ahead of the lenders' annual meeting in Accra, Ghana's capital, that runs Sunday through the 21st of June. The platform has started commercial operations with 9 countries signed up so far. He said the system, known as PAPS, is using dollars exchange rate for now, said Orama, whose bank funds the system. But we are working with the central bank to develop an exchange rate mechanism that would allow Africa's 42 currency to be convertible among themselves.
Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin on Saturday gave African leaders who were seeking to mediate in the war in Ukraine a list of reasons why he believed many of their proposals were misguided, pouring cold water on a plan already largely dismissed by Kyiv. The African leaders were seeking agreement on a series of confidence-building measures, even as Kyiv last week began a counteroffensive to push back Russian forces from the swathes of southern and eastern Ukraine that they occupy. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said after meeting them in Kyiv on Friday that peace talks would require Moscow to withdraw its forces from occupied Ukrainian territory, something Russia has said is not negotiable. Putin opened Saturday's talks with representatives of Senegal, Egypt, Zambia, Uganda, Congo Republic, Comoros, and South Africa in a place near St. Petersburg by stressing Russia's commitment to the continent.
Guterres welcomes the closure of last remaining Remano base in Mozambique. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Friday congratulated Mozambique on closing the last base of the Mozambican National Resistance, a reminder that it is always possible to choose peace. He wrote, "I pledge the full support of the UN to the peace process," added the UN Secretary General. The last Remano base was closed in Vunzi, Gorosonga district in the central province of Sofala on Thursday, more than 30 years after the end of the Mozambican civil war. The ceremony was attended by the president of Mozambique, Filipe Nyusi, and the leader of Remano, Osufo Momade. The closure of the base shows unwavering determination by the government and Remano to no longer return to military hostilities and consolidate lasting peace in Mozambique, said Nyusi at the ceremony.
That brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Now, something I've been laden with living in 2023 is, having a lady in my life who often goes on social media and looks at other ladies doing shopping rounds at places like Pick and Pay, and where they can find nice specials and that kind of thing. Now, in Zimbabwe, they've just decided to ban all in-store photography.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So we'll be looking at that as we talk to Talent Gore, bringing us that and more stories from Zimbabwe after the break.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouthwatering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
All right, as promised, we're going to be talking to Talent Gore in Zimbabwe as she brings us the top stories from the House of Stone. Now, the first one is fugitive suspected killer arrested in Ireland. Talent Mangwanani, please take us into the story.
Mangwana Nakanaka Africa. So the long arm of the law finally caught up with fugitive Guerrero businessman Peter Zube, who is wanted in connection with 3 counts of murder, 1 attempted murder case, and violation of immigration laws after he was arrested in Ireland last week. He now faces extradition after the Zimbabwe Public Police successfully secured a provisional international arrest warrant. Dube was arrested last week after nearly 3 years on the run for allegedly gunning down his second wife, his suspected lover, and a female friend in cold blood. He subsequently escaped the country and ended up in South Africa, where he changed his identity, then relocated to Ireland. Police in Ireland then launched a criminal investigation following a story which was written by the Sunday Mail, which is a newspaper in Zimbabwe, which was published in April, detailing how Dube used an alias to dupe Irish officials into granting him asylum after allegedly killing 3 people in Zimbabwe. So now we're just waiting for him to be extradited back to Zimbabwe, but now he is in the custody of Ireland police.
All right, now Talent, moving over to your next story. Retailers ban in-store pictures. Tell us about this.
Yes, so apparently, as you all know, prices in Zimbabwe, they are going up very frequently and rapidly. So retailer giants in Harare have reportedly resorted to banning customers from taking pictures of commodity prices, and some shoppers have been forced to delete photos of the prices. The retailer's stance comes amid fears that government is going to comes amid fears crackdown on businesses over ever rising prices. Government has accused businesses of distorting prices and fueling inflation, while the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe has frozen bank accounts of at least 12 suppliers and retailers who were allegedly rejecting payments in local currency and manipulating the official exchange rate. Last week, President Emerson Mnangagwa said that businesses which were distorting prices would be brought to book days after threatening to withdraw licenses of businesses which were hiking prices. So right now, if you go into Pick n Pay and you try to take pictures of the current prices, they are not allowing you to do so. In every aisle, there will be a person who works in the supermarket. So if you're seen taking a picture, or if you do take pictures, they will order you to delete the pictures. We are not allowed to take pictures in those big supermarkets.
Wow. Well, numbers that can't be distorted is Zimbabwe's poor performance in the economy since Emerson Mnangagwa took over. Now, 2023 polls, female politicians are moaning over cyberbullying. Could you please get into this? And are we talking mainly opposition politicians or across the board?
No, we are talking across the board. So Zimbabwean female politicians have complained of cyberbullying ahead of the August 23 harmonized election, saying that they are subjected to greater scrutiny and criticism than their male counterparts, who get more exposure through social media and other digital platforms. Apparently, there was a workshop which was being held over the weekend, and the women say that violence against women and girls remain a pervasive culture in most African countries, while women are also exposed to online violence more frequently than men. And former Cabinet Minister Olivia Muchena said social media can be a threat to female politicians. In as much as we want to embrace ICT in political campaigns, social media is not a safe place for female politicians, but rather it is more welcoming, and it is a safe place for their counterparts, which are the male politicians, who then gain more mileage on social media, and they can actually campaign on social media rather than the female politicians. You find out that in Zimbabwe, female politicians, they'll end up being violated on social media. They'll be degraded, and some of the citizens will actually be mocking them in terms of their looks, or in terms of how they actually wear, of how they dress, apparently. So the female politicians are complaining that it is not fair how they are being treated, especially on social media.
I find it interesting that Zimbabwe is considering a well-articulated patriotism bill, its standing notwithstanding, but I don't believe that the cyberbullying laws are clear enough, because I feel like this is something that should be tackled immediately. Thank you very much, Talent Gore, for bringing us the news stories from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good having you on Africa Good Morning. Something else that might be good to have is some warmth in the winter, but there's no guarantee of that. Let's have a look at the weather predictions.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country. Here are our economic news for this morning. Nigeria should target exchange rate of 500 to 600 naira, policy documents say. Nigeria should target an exchange rate between 500 and 600 naira to the dollar, which requires reserves of up to 60 billion and a doubling of export to support growth ambitions, a policy document prepared for the government showed. President Bola Tinubu has moved swiftly to reform the economy since being sworn into office on May 29, scrapping a costly petrol subsidy and curbs on the foreign currency market, which saw the official rate of naira tumble to record lows.
Angolan President João Lourenço has appointed Manuel Tiago Diaz as the new central bank governor, a government statement said on Friday. Diaz was deputy governor prior to his appointment and will succeed José de Lima Massano, who was last week appointed as the country's economic coordination minister. Massano was appointed as the new economic coordination minister in the wake of deadly protests over a reduction in a fuel subsidy. Since winning a second presidential term in August last year, Lourenço has pledged to continue reforms, including privatizing poorly run state assets and cleaning up corruption. That brings us to the end of our economic news stories. We'll head into the indicators just before Ari Hochad joins us with the latest from the sporting world. It was Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers over the weekend. South Africa having a memorable match dedicated to their former coach, and Zambia, one of my favorite teams right now, Chipolo Polo, managing to qualify for AFCON. Ari Hochad is here with all the sports stories. Ari, take it away.
Yes, a very good morning to everyone. Yes, it was a busy sport weekend. That African qualifying for, that is for Ivory Coast next year. It's going to be in January, February. That's the African Cup of Nations, always very competitive. South Africa and Namibia still very competitive in the qualifying. And South Africa, a big win for them against Morocco. It was 2-1. Very emotional. Clive Barker, former coach. He was the coach when they won in 1996. So he passed away just a few days ago. It was Zambia there that also won. But that was good motivation for South Africa, winning 2-1 against Morocco. They also have Liberia in their group. And so that is a difficult group still, but they're leading at the moment. Other results, Nigeria, a good away win for them against Sierra Leone, 3-2, winning. Also Mozambique, an away win against Rwanda, 2-0. And that is a celebration from the South African winner. That is similar to the way that Clive Barker used to celebrate as well. And Mali beat Congo by 2-0. That was also an away goal. So make a note, Namibia play Burundi. That is tomorrow at 3 p.m. That's the following. On to Formula One racing news. It was the Canadian Open. It's become a bit of a story or a theme that Max Verstappen keeps on winning, and he won again in the Canadian Grand Prix. Very impressive for him. He's leading by 69 points now over his teammate Sergio Perez. Red Bull Honda really dominating there. A better performance again from Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes-Benz. He came in third. Lots of improvement from Mercedes-Benz, and it was Fernando Alonso, Aston Martin, still doing well in second place. So there's the winner. Max Verstappen on the left, Fernando Alonso, he was second in the Canadian Grand Prix. And also Max Verstappen equaled Ayrton Senna's record of 41 career wins. On to some golf news. It ended just a few hours ago, actually. It was the US Open. It was played on the west coast of America, so it ended late Southern African time. It was Wyndham Clark. He's from the USA, 29 years old. He's number 32 in the world. He won the US Open. A bit of a surprise, but that was a good victory for him. The best he did in previous majors was tied 75th. That's Rory McIlroy. He was one of the favorites. He ended one shot back. He's in second position on -9. Wyndham Clark finishing on -10. Scotty Scheffler was on -7 in second or third position. To close off quickly, also those following the cricket, the Ashes series started. England playing Australia. Big series, always that. It is day 4 today. They had some rain yesterday, but it's closely poised at the moment. England leading by 35 runs, but they've lost 2 late wickets yesterday. Briefly, England batting first, 393 for 8 declared, day 1. Then Australia deprived 386. That was all out. Ushwan Khawaja scoring 141. So 28 for 2. They're going to bat again today. It is England. Closely poised at Edgbaston in England. That is the first one of 5 test matches. So that's the international sports news for this morning. Hope you have a brilliant day and a brilliant week. And we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, Ari, for bringing us the international sports. We'll be coming back with your highlights after the break.
To another exciting episode of Irongo Talk. Jou is die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis heel moontlik gaan byt.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning throughout the broadcast. Let's have a look at some of the highlights. Death toll from militant attack on school in Uganda hits 37. Russian MPs vote to ban gender reassignment.
And those have...
And bank wants Africans buying from each other with their own money.
And those have been our stories. We thank you very much for joining Africa Good Morning on this beautiful, cold Monday. We will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Please be reminded that we do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can post them on our Twitter and Facebook pages. On that note, it's all our love, all our light.
Será Jaganaka.